Welcome to Momentum Investing, property investing made easy. One of the world's top podcasts on property investing, bringing you the top experts in the field so you can learn firsthand what it takes to create passive income and take control over your financial future.
Welcome to the Momentum Investing Podcast. My name is Daniel Wood. I am one of the founders of Momentum Property Education, and welcome to today's episode because we are speaking to Stephen Morris. Stephen is the author of A Beautiful Business, which is an amazing story about how to make your company so attractive, so exciting, so powerfully enticing that customers, employees come to you. It's about finding that inner spirit of your company that allows you to grow, that allows you to expand, that allows people to see why you do what you do and the impact you have on the world. It is an amazing book. Stephen's background, it comes from, he built this whole marketing company that he sold and then worked as a consultant for hundreds of companies all over the world, helping them find their core. And that's what he turned into the book. I'm so honored to have him on the show, and I know you're going to get a lot of value out of this. So make sure you stick to the very end because Stephen has some amazing insights that will help you attract more investors, attract more clients, attract more people that will want to work with you, which is super exciting. Please also make sure you like this video because for every like this video gets, we will plant a tree. So Momentum Property Education is partners to Eden Reforestation Project, and we will plant a tree for each like this video gets. So please make sure you do. So super excited about that and super excited to have you here. Please make sure you subscribe. Let's get into the video. Welcome to the Momentum Investing Podcast. I am so excited to be here with Stephen Morris. Welcome to the show.
Daniel, it's a pleasure. I'm so thrilled to be here.
Well, I am super excited to have you here. I mean, we had a conversation where you started explaining this whole process of what you've created with A Beautiful Business. And I got so excited. And you remember me saying, we got to get you on the show. We got to let our students, our community hear about this. So before we get into the details, because obviously that's where it gets fun, how about you give us an overview, kind of like what do you mean when you say a beautiful business, and why is that what we should be striving for?
Oh, great question. So let me back up a little bit and talk a little bit about sort of how I got here, and then we can merge into what a beautiful business means and all that kind of stuff. So I started in the world of business back in 1994. My wife and I were 1 year married. Literally, we spent our first anniversary in a Ryder truck, which is a brand of moving truck here in the States, 24-foot Ryder truck towing a 71 VW bus, moving cross country from Washington, D.C., where I was living and working, and we had just gotten married. And
isn't that how you're supposed to celebrate your anniversary? Isn't that well romantic?
It's so funny because my wife actually forgot it was our first anniversary, and it was literally our first day on the road driving out to San Diego to a town where we knew no one.
Right.
And really what I thought I would do, Daniel, is I was working for agencies at that point, and I thought I would just get another job. And San Diego was a very different town, and I'm not the kind of person who really had big aspirations to open my own business, but I ended up doing that, and I ended up doing it very quickly. So I founded that business in 1994. It was a marketing, branding, and creative agency, built that business and grew it rapidly over well, I say rapidly, but it was 2 decades, 23 years of running that business.
But it went by like this. So
yeah, the 23-year overnight success.
Yeah.
And it ended up, I sold that business in 2017. And what I realized in around 2013 that I was not spending nearly the amount of time that I wanted to in what I call my zone of genius, or what Gay Hendricks would call the zone of genius, which is really doing my best work for the world. And I started thinking about, well, okay, what is that zone of genius and how can I serve people in a greater way? And so with the work that I had done for big corporations, including Amazon and LG and Samsung and Sony and a lot of businesses in consumer products and consumer electronics, big universities and brands that we've all heard of, I realized that I was mostly, helping them with marketing, which was great, but I wasn't really doing all of the work that I love to be doing, which is identifying the heart and soul of an organization and putting that into the leadership team, putting that into the culture, and ultimately telling the whole world about that, which is really kind of the early formations of what a beautiful business was. So, now it sort of begs the question, what is a beautiful business and what do I do today? So a beautiful business is, in my opinion, a business that has integrity at its core, which means it walks its talk, it says what it does, it delivers on a big promise and great value for customers. Beautiful business has what I call magnetism. So it doesn't really chase customers, it draws customers towards them. And this could be in the B2B space or in the B2C space or B2C to B, however you want to carve that guy up.
Well, exactly. Well,
And
like for a lot of our audience, that would be that investors are coming to you instead of you begging for money from investors.
absolutely, yeah. And so, metaphorically, it acts like the flame and not the moth. The
Right.
moth is the one out there chasing all kinds of things, and the
Yeah.
flame is the one that stands still and holds its light and, creates a beacon of attraction. So, magnetism is a big part of the beautiful business. So, by beauty, I mean the Japanese aesthetic principles of beauty, which have to do with symmetry, harmony, integrity, things that are in line with the laws of nature. And I believe that businesses can operate with that mindset. And regardless of their size, regardless of the industry that they're in, they can be a beacon and an attraction and actually put people first and purpose into what they do and how they grow their business while still making great profit.
Right. Very cool. So the follow-up question is obvious. How do I become a beautiful business? How do I take my business from the ugly duckling and make it into that beautiful swan?
Yeah. Yeah. It's I I I actually I don't recommend that people actually consider themselves an ugly business. And not to mince words here, but every business leader has a choice in which they choose to play the game of business. And so a lot of the mindset that I teach and I train and I help and guide people with as a consultant for organizations is how to first and foremost infuse a driving purpose that goes beyond just making profit. Although profit is important in the world of business, it shouldn't be the only metric that we hold ourselves accountable for. So first and foremost, in order to gravitate into the direction of building a beautiful business, you have to live and breathe a purpose. And it's a higher purpose that serves a greater sense of humanity and creates really significant value for the people that are involved in the organization. And then have everyone that's part of that organization kind of rally around it, be aligned with that purpose and the driving cause. So the big mantra that I utilize in the work that I do is that there's nothing more powerful than a united group of souls ignited in a common cause with love at the core. So let's break that down a little bit. Ignited in a common cause. This is what I'm talking about. We're in purpose. So when we're fired up about a cause, we're actually going to go above and beyond just delivering average value, and we're going to create something significant for the world. A united group of souls is the people, everyone involved in the organization. This could be the customers, this could be the investors, this could be the partners. It certainly should be the culture and the leadership team. But it could even include things like the community and how the organization connects with the community, be it the business community that they work with or their geographic community that they're associated with. Like one of my companies, the clients that I work with is in real estate. And they do a lot of, sort of building of, new real estate properties, managing communities, things like that. They do that across the country here in the US. And so for them, beauty and this attribute of community is really, really important and having a close connection with them. So igniting and uniting those people within that and into this thing called love. Now, we're going to get into this a little bit esoteric type of thing. What do I mean by love? When we have passion and purpose, we can actually have a higher goal for the way that we live. And by love, I don't mean eros, the erotic form of love.
Yeah.
But the Greeks have many definitions for love, and agape and philia being the most common one, which is the term really that most people associate with brotherly love. If we think of Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, it's how we all connect with one another and how we all work together in this common cause. So that mantra of there's nothing more powerful than a united group of souls ignited in a common cause with love at the core is really how people, it's instructive process for how people go about building a beautiful business.
Wow, very, very cool. So essentially, if we want to, well, let's kind of go to kind of the benefits of being a beautiful business. I mean, you touched on that when you explained it, but then kind of start opening that box and look at like what is the roadmap to do it. But let's start with like, why should I put in the effort? Why, what's in it for me? If I am a property investor, I'm building a portfolio. I don't have a lot of internal employees, but I have, agents working on my behalf. I have, entrepreneurs and, builders and letting agents and all this. And then I have investors that I'm trying to attract, and I'm trying to put all this together to be a successful company. What is the benefit of me putting in all that effort into actually making this a beautiful business?
Yeah. So every business is sort of grappling with the question of why should people do business with you versus say somebody else? There's always going to be another set of comparables out there, some other offering, or even
Well, yeah,
what we call the
especially
competition.
with I mean, if you just set up a company, I mean, we have hundreds of people going through Momentum Property Education. And so, today we have a new company that started for one of our clients, and tomorrow we have a new one. So they're now the same in everything but who is running the company, really.
Exactly. Yeah. So now we get into a question of position. So, in the world of brand, we think about market positions being the intersection between two things. How is what you offer relevant to somebody out there that might be an investor or might be a property developer? And how is it valuable to them? So I think about, I'm holding my hands up for those people who can't really see the video, but it's, you think about this intersection that all brands live in, and we call this the market position. So relevancy and differentiation. So relevancy is what's in it for you, the customer, and differentiation is how am I different? And so when we think about now, all of a sudden, there's a variety of offerings out there in the same space, and people could then choose to do business with you or do business with somebody else. They're going to either out loud ask the question or quietly to themselves ask the question, Daniel, why should I do business with you versus somebody else who has what seems like a very, very similar offering?
Yeah.
Well, now we get into this sort of human aspect and the attributes of what I call character, which is really about brand. So if someone trusts you, someone who believes in you and believes in the impetus and the purpose behind why you're doing it, and they feel like their own personal or business values align with that, then all of a sudden they're going to be attracted to do work with you once they know that there are my values, that this prospect's values and the business's values are aligned. So we trade, we talk about, currency and the currency we do business in. The emotional currency that we all do business in is this thing called trust. And it's character, the character or the brand of the organization and how they serve a set of somebody's out there in a uniquely different way than somebody else does. This is what creates trust. This is what defines character. And this is
And I
how a
love
brand
that.
actually
I love what
wins
you're
in
saying,
the
because it's like
marketplace.
it's so easy to get kind of suckered into that conversation where I'm like, well, Momentum Property Education is better because we'll give you more sourcing agents, or we'll give you better contacts here, or we'll give you this, that. But really, the decision someone's going to make, it's not about how many bells and whistles you have, or if you're raising capital. It's not really if you're offering 6, 7, or 9%. It's the emotional comes first, and then you might justify it with the facts and say like, well, I took this investment at 6% instead of this one at 8 because, well, if that one goes bankrupt, I'm getting 0, and here I'm getting 6. So you kind of, I trust this, I feel this investor, and then I can use the facts, the logic to kind of justify my emotions.
Absolutely. Yeah, really well said. you think about the psychology of decision making, and the way all of us make decisions, either as consumers or in a B2B scenario, is that we will intellectualize it. So we convince ourselves, and we have to, the facts actually have to add up. The data has to be there. The offering has to be there. There has to be some alignment with, oh, I get it. I get the value of it, all that kind of thing.
Otherwise, that's where buyer's remorse comes in, and the deal falls through on the back end instead.
Absolutely. Or it's just not interesting, where
Yeah.
you have a situation where, oh, what they're selling isn't something that I'm actually interested in purchasing.
Yeah.
But then the other side of it is, as humans, we decide with intellect, but we act with our emotions. So until and unless our emotions are engaged, and we have especially positive emotions, and this is why trust is such an important currency in the world of business. When I feel like I can trust your business, and in order to trust your business, I have to get to know your business. In order to get to know your business, I have to understand your value system, your purpose, your character. And only at that point will I begin to trust you and the business that you uphold. Because the reality, at the end of the day, even though businesses have its own sort of vibe and feel, all businesses run by people and for people. So it's people making decisions about who am I going to do business with. It's people representing themselves on saying, here's who I am. Here's what my business is all about. And, if this makes sense to you, let's do business together.
Yeah.
But it's that really important emotional element that, people talk about big data and all that kind of thing. And look, I love great data. But data doesn't help people make decisions, or rather, it helps people decide on whether or not something makes sense, but it won't help people act on those decisions until and unless the emotions are engaged.
Right. So let's go back to the seat of me as a property investor now, and I've just set up my company. I'm new to this. You have kind of the bells and whistles. You can say, look, I got Momentum Property Education. They gave me these contacts. So I have all this now. So I'm not just a rookie. I have this behind me. But how am I, other than that, obviously with Momentum, that means you're better than any other property investor that isn't Momentum educated, right?
Yeah. Well, that's actually
what else do I have?
Point. Yeah, let's touch on that a second, because if Momentum has, which I know it does, this great reputation out in the marketplace, and they know that you guys train your people really well and set them up for success, and then you have the moniker of, I'm a Momentum trained business. All of a sudden, you're now, me as a new business owner, if I'm trained by you and if I'm under your sort of house of umbrella, then I'm borrowing some of that great equity and trust equity that your organization has. And now I can talk about that as me, the real estate investor that's out there, and saying, I've been trained by this great company called Momentum. Here's the principles and the values in which we do work. And all of a sudden, you become differentiated in the market because you're borrowing that great equity and that trust building equity that anyone wants to say, oh, well, it's almost like I went to Harvard, right? When anyone says I went to Harvard, it's like this sort of mark of excellence all of a sudden.
Yeah, I interviewed a gentleman who for the podcast, who's a Stanford grad. And he basically said, like, the moment we started we didn't even start our company. We didn't even really we didn't have a business plan. We just had an idea. It was like, this would be fun to do. And they were handed $2 million to say, please make a business plan. Here's $2 million. Show us something. And it's like, that was all Stanford. They didn't even have a real business plan, and they were given $2 million. So I completely agree with what you're saying. They had borrowed that trust equity right there.
Yeah. It's transferred trust, especially if, your company Momentum has this public reputation for doing what you do. And all of a sudden someone comes into your program and goes through that program. They not only have the confidence because they're well trained, but also they're building that confidence because they understand how well trained they are compared to others in the market. And if their investors begin to understand that, then all of a sudden they can then not just build on the Momentum reputation that they have, but then put their own core values.
That's where they have a base, and then they infuse it with their own kind of
Absolutely.
value based. So, all right. So now we kind of see like, why do you want to do this, right? Because it will get you better partnerships with investors. You become the flame, not the moth. They come to
Yep.
you. And the same thing, obviously, with like the sourcing agents, people bringing deals. They'll have dozens of people. In some cases, they have international businesses, so they'll have hundreds or thousands of people calling them saying, "I want a deal." And you obviously want to get the best one. So there you're creating that differentiation. This is why we want to work with you. But so now, if I get that, if I know, all right, I want to be a beautiful business, I want to become the flame. What do I do? Like what is like clear actions I can take to become that?
It's now a question of turning your internal value system, purpose, vision, your core values into language that you can then communicate to people in the outside world. So it's almost like, in certain ways, like wearing your heart on your sleeve, and be very, very transparent about, here's what we as an organization believe, here's the kinds of deals that we're looking for, and here's the kinds of relationships that we're looking for, and here's our promise to you, the customer. So once you then understand what those values are and how to communicate that, you put that into a language where you can go out and actually market yourself. When I talk about, what is marketing and what is sales, marketing is nothing more than a storytelling process that accentuates your value system and the value proposition to a set of customers. And sales is nothing more than helping or serving. So when now all of a sudden you put that sales mindset on, and you're having conversations with people, that you're not just looking to convert people, you're actually looking to serve or help people.
I love that difference, because so many people are there converting rather than serving. And I mean, I often say that is, I will lose sales in a one up when it's like someone is choosing between us and another company. I'm not the best salesperson. I'll lose that sale. But a big part of the reason is, I'm not going to tell you what's not true, right? I'm not going to sit there and say you're going to make 50% returns per year, when the reality is, in the market right now, you're getting 10 to 15. So I'm going to tell you that. And then someone else might say, no, we got 50% deals here. And all I can say is like, but that's not true. You'll have probably better deals here than there, but they aren't better than 10, 15%. It's what it is. And I'll lose a sale. But I like that kind of rephrase to say, look, it's not about converting them, because that sales methodology might convert more people, but you're not serving them, you're not helping them, because on the back end, well, they're not gonna feel you're a value-based company. Well, they might feel you're a value-based company. It's just the wrong values.
Yeah, and those companies that are doing that to over-promising, let's say they're promising this 50% return when the reality is closer to 10 to 12%. Those companies are really just organizations waiting to be exposed. They're playing what I call the short game of business. They're looking for transactions. They'll probably win in the short term.
And they can make a lot of money in the short term. Absolutely.
But they're also going to build a bad reputation, because those people who feel burned by those, they were promised 50% and they're only getting 12. All of a sudden it's like, hey, wait a minute, there's something not quite right here. I no longer trust you as an organization. And word spreads very quickly. You can that you can only hide under so many rocks. And but those companies who are honest about how the kinds of returns they might be looking for, and upfront about those things when they're talking to investors, they're actually gaining trust and long-term trust. And if you deliver on that 12%, then all of a sudden your referral system goes up. You're like, hey, Daniel was great. He promised me the 12%. We got 12%. We worked really hard for it. He was great to work with. I'm going to refer him on to somebody else, and on and on and on. And we all know that word of mouth in the world of marketing is still the most potent. 75% of word of mouth marketing converts.
Right.
And people trust 90% of what they hear from other people about your business, especially if they trust the person that is informing them about the business.
Well, exactly. And what's cool is now is, because of social media, word of mouth is that much easier. It's not a new world. It's not a new thing to figure out. It's really just do what you've been doing well, And then, for example, we had that. I posted a webinar we're doing, an introduction to property investing, and a bunch of our clients went in and shared it and said some really nice things, which we really appreciate. But that is that effect. We've delivered on what we promised, and then they share it. And to kind of go back to that investor, is the same thing will happen, right? If you say, I'm going to give you this return, you do an investment together, you give them that return, all of a sudden, they want to be that good person, because again, they will be borrowing from your credibility to build theirs at that point. Then they'll say, look, Stephen told me to do this and he gave me this value. So here, let me give that to you. And then all the value you give them, now a part of that reflects back on the person who made that referral.
Absolutely. And then when you put yourself in the situation, apply heavy empathy to that investor, you begin to understand their world and why they're looking to invest. They're obviously wanting a good return on their investment, but they have friends who are looking for the same thing. Yeah. And so you treat them well and they get returns that they're happy with because you set them up for success and you were honest from the get-go. Then all of a sudden they're going to be like, oh, you know what? I got the returns that I'm looking for. I was talking to a buddy down at the bar and he's now looking to invest, and I'm going to refer you to Daniel. And because he's a stand-up guy, he does what he says, he does it well, and he's got integrity throughout his organization.
I love that. And I think that's something that anyone here, you're listening to this show is, take that, go out. And really, I loved what you said about, telling a story, right? So if you borrow some credibility, you whoever you're connected with, you use that credibility, you infuse it with your values, and then you use all the amazing tools we have out there to kind of start telling that story, showing off your brand, explaining what you do and why. And then when you have a chance to serve rather than convert, you can you then deliver on your promise and you do serve them to the best of your ability. That's when it starts to take off. And although that might take longer time than, that full on 100%, let's close at any, at any cost, that it will serve you in the long term. So I love that. Absolutely. Let's all have a beautiful business and do that. So if we want to learn more, and obviously we got that pretty book there in the background, how do we learn more? How do we get our hands on the book? How do we, I was going to say get our hands on you, but that might be wrong. How do we learn more from you?
So there's two ways to learn more about me. The main way is my website is, my company is called Matter Consulting. The company website is matterco.co, matterco.co. And then if you want to learn more about the Beautiful Business book, which launches on 11/11/21, you can go to the-beautiful-business.com, and there's pre-orders happening right now. And like I said, the book comes out on 11/11. It's available everywhere, and everywhere, especially online these days, Amazon and other indie booksellers and things like that. And for those that pre-order, there's a couple of free bonuses to help you with some brand essentials, a little toolkit there. And then for small business people, I also give away kind of a workbook of this year-end planning workshop that I give. And it's called, setting your 2021 or 2022, as we look into 2022 now, your conscious world. And it looks at both your business and your personal life to plan ahead. So those are the two free bonuses that come with that.
Very cool. And we get that if we go to the-beautiful-business.com.
You got it.
All right, awesome. Well, we'll add the links here to the show notes, and I'm gonna make sure we get a copy of that as well, because we got work to do in our company. We do our best, but there's always that next level, and we want to take it. So I really, really appreciate you coming here, Stephen, joining us and sharing your wisdom. And everyone listening, thank you so much for being here. Let's make our businesses beautiful, right?
Thank you, Daniel. Appreciate everything you do.
Thank you. Wow, that was amazing, wasn't it? Stephen is an amazing person, an amazing character, and I learned so much in that episode that I'm going to have him join us more times in the future. Our next episode next week, you definitely don't want to miss, so make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing, because we are talking to Ben Chai, one of the most successful property investors I know, and he's going to be analyzing what would he do if he was starting over? What would he do if he was where you might be now, starting your property portfolio. It's a great episode, a great interview with a great person. So please make sure you stick with us, learn, make sure you like the video so we can plant the tree on your behalf. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss next week's show. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll see you in a week.